OpenAI is not happy with Robinhood right now because Robinhood launched crypto versions of OpenAI stock. At a recent event, Robinhood launched blockchain-based tokens that are meant to mimic the value of private companies like OpenAI and SpaceX. It was a flashy idea because it basically broadens access to private markets, which is historically usually only open to institutional investors like VCs or accredited investors. Technically, people with more than $1 million in assets or making more than $200,000 in income. It's part of a broader tokenization strategy that, one, makes illiquid assets tradable on the blockchain, and two, makes private equity more accessible to everyday investors. However, one important thing to note is that these tokenized shares of private companies aren't actual shares in the companies themselves. They don't come with any sort of voting rights or any real shareholder privileges. Instead, it's basically a workaround structure through an SPV that represents indirect exposure to the company. So the SPV holds actual shares in OpenAI, and the token represents fractional interest in Robinhood's stake in the SPV. So for example, if you're buying a token in OpenAI, you're essentially getting a synthetic asset that tracks the value of OpenAI without any of the legal rights or protections of a real shareholder. It's basically a digital IOU that says that this may go up if OpenAI becomes more valuable. It's also worth noting that this is only launched in the EU right now because this likely violates US SEC rules. And in response to this, OpenAI made it very clear that they did not officially partner with Robinhood on this. They do not endorse the product, and they want to warn the public to please be careful. These tokens are exciting because they do offer a level of democratization and access to these high growth private assets, but there's also risk because private companies don't have the same disclosure obligations, audited financials, and oversight, which means that these tokens could overpromise exposure while underinforming users. It is part of a broader trend where the tokenization of finance is accelerating, and you're seeing other financial firms exploring tokenized versions of real estate, commodities, art, and startup equity. The big idea here is that everything can be liquid, tradable, and accessible using the blockchain.